Senate Bill 282 was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor this past spring. It's meant to address a child's absences from school before they're labeled as habitually truant. Now the school district is required to notify the prosecutor's office if a student has too many unexcused absences.
How many days did your child stay home from school last year?
I'd say probably 3.
The answer is different for each family.
He was just sick, like a stomach bug or headache.
And the reasons are different too.
With the flu and COVID and stuff, maybe like 10.
But now a new law might make parents think twice about keeping their kids home from school.
And the whole point is making sure that the kids get that education so that I don't see them later on when they get older, that they can be successful in life.
That's the St. Joseph County prosecutor, Ken Cotter. Some parents might soon be hearing from him.
The last thing I want to do is charge a parent, but it's also something that I may have to do if the parent has chosen to not take advantage of the services that are available.
Indiana Senate Bill 282 requires schools establish a truancy prevention policy for kids in kindergarten through 6th grade. It requires schools report to the prosecutor that a child is a habitual truant, and it requires the prosecutor notify parents.
Whenever a child has 10 unexcused absences, the school has to send me an affidavit to let me know that, and then I have to reach out to the parents and say, hey, your kid's missing a little too much school. You might want to take a look at this because you don't want me to criminally charge you, because that's ultimately what that letter is hopefully going to do.
The law is targeting kids and families who are considered habitually absent. Habitually absent means the student has been unexcused for 10 or more days.
It's most frightening when they're unexcused because we don't have any idea where they're at.
School City of Mishawaka Director of Student Services, Dave Troyer, says parents should know the difference between excused and unexcused and keep the school informed.
The need to attend school regularly has not been on the top of everybody's list for a while, and it's just time that we start getting that back in place as this is a priority. Your son or daughter in school is a priority, and attendance matters, and it matters every single day.
In Indiana, students need to be at school at least 94% of the school year. In 2023, state data showed only 61% of students were going to school most of the time. In Mishawaka, only 43% of students were at school 94% of the time. That's a lot of kids who are missing several days of school. And education experts say after 1 or 2 absences a month, students can fall behind.
The more that we can do this together and have the parents and families know what we're trying to accomplish. We're not trying to be punitive or aggressive towards families. We want them to know that, we're notifying you. We want your son or daughter here again, and the most important thing is to have them in school every day.
This new law says after a student has 5 unexcused absences, the school will meet with the family. After 10 unexcused, the prosecutor will get involved. The goal is to get kids into the classroom and encourage families and schools to communicate.
How did you let the school know that they were going to be gone?
I have to call in, and they have an attendance line where you call in and give your child's name and teacher, and then they tell them they're not coming.
I would call in the morning and let them know that she wasn't feeling well, and when she would return, I'd return with a doctor's note.
The prosecutor's office has met with school districts across the county and is prepared to step in. The hope is he doesn't have to.
And the whole goal is to get the kids in school. Pure and simple.
On Wednesday, how local schools will handle this new law and how their policies are changing. In the studio, Kristen Bean, WSBT 22 News. Chronic absenteeism is a state and a national problem. Chronically absent students are kids who are missing at least 10% of school days for any reason. That means they're missing 18 or more school days. New data shows in Indiana, chronic absenteeism is improving, but it is still much higher than pre-pandemic numbers.
So we've got to make sure that habit is early, that kids are getting to school.
Right now in Indiana, more than 205,000 kids aren't going to school regularly.
It is lower, but still a little startling.
The Indiana Department of Education unveiled its most recent chronic absenteeism numbers, and it shows nearly 18% of students are missing significant chunks of the school year. You can see the state data shows more older students are chronically absent, but a significant number of children in grades kindergarten through second grade are also missing a lot of school days.
The magnitude of that is startling, you're right. And if you think about our inverted bell curve, I know we've talked to a lot of different groups about this. We look at the high school, which is certainly the most significant, but we also, if you look at kindergarten and first grade, that is a lot higher than it should be when our teachers are working on the foundations with kids.
The state data shows learning suffers when a kid is absent. Even a couple of days here and there adds up. Students who are missing school are far less likely to pass the iRead in third grade. They're less likely to pass the iLearn, and their SAT scores are much lower.
It is statistically significant. Students who are coming to school 94% of the time are doing better significantly on the iLearn. So as a parent or a grandparent or whatever, that 94% or more really, really matters. Teachers could have told us this before we ran the data, right? But running the data, it is very clear students need to be in the classroom in order to make the greatest performance.
Locally, nearly every school corporation saw a decrease in chronic absenteeism rates. That means more students are coming to school more often. But again, numbers are still high. During the past school year, several districts saw more than 30% of students absent from class. At some schools, as many as 50 to 60% of kids aren't showing up.
My question is, do we know the why behind the absenteeism? And I am asking that question because if we know the why, that gives us some runway on how we can come up with a solution.
I don't think at the state level we know the why.
That's part of the difficulty in trying to bring the numbers down and get kids to school. According to nonprofit Attendance Works, the reasons a child might not make it to school are varied. It could be sickness, transportation, work, or even misconceptions about the impact of absences. But schools and teachers say they can't teach kids if they aren't in the classroom.
It really is fairly simple. If you want students to be successful, they're going to be most successful when they're in school.
You can see all this data for yourself. Go to this story on our website. In the studio, Kristen Bean, WSBT 22 News.